Cool. Hello, everyone. Just getting everyone in the room. Okay, let's rock and roll. I think everyone's had enough time to get in the room. Okay, so just reminding you that we're doing day 4 for the Q&A. And specifically, I'm not providing you any financial advice. In fact, today, probably more than ever, I'm showing you my mistakes so that you can avoid them yourself in terms of that process. So what questions do we have for today? And before we kind of go into questions, if people have questions, as usual, just raise your hands. But I'd love to know if what I shared with you made sense. And specifically, Shona, the conversation you and I had before Christmas resonates a lot with what we went through today because, people are out there, they're Ponzi schemes, they're scams, they're everything in between. But what I tried to share today was some of the lessons learned on trying to find the right partners. And someone like Simon Zutsky and I have been doing this for 20 years plus. And unfortunately, when you've been doing it a long time, you can see around the corners, in terms of what people's intentions are, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, I'd love to get some feedback from people as to whether it made sense. As I said to you, I could literally spend an entire weekend or 2 days talking about partners, what works, what doesn't work, how we find them, what we do, what we don't do. But hopefully, in a nutshell, we've tried to share with you today some of the learnings around partners and specifically with Callio Private Equity. So remembering that Callio is our family office that we work with, and then they've got different divisions, private equity, they've got structured notes, they've got a venture capital company, but they all operate as independent companies. So the Callio private equity team, we love to get their deals onto our platform because of the level of due diligence and partnerships that you've already witnessed. Yeah, I'd love to know people's inputs, thoughts, questions. While I wait for anyone, if you've got any questions or thoughts, I want to reinforce also what I said in the recording. So I don't know if you remember in the recording, I spoke and I said, the first time I learned about this control thing, and it's interesting because it's quite a cultural thing, and I know that I'm now toying a very, very fine line here. But culturally, in certain countries, certainly in my country, we've got some very conservative cultures where they love to control everything. It's all about control, and they know everything and they control everything. And what's interesting is that when my father, I was a teenager when my father was financial director, and that Rembrandt Group, which was one of the biggest companies in the world, came in and bought my father's company. It wasn't his company personally. He was just the financial director of the company. But they only bought 40% of the company. And I remember, even as a young teenager, going, but why is that, Dad? Like, I thought everyone wanted to own 100% of a company. I thought the game was always to be in control. And he said, no, son. Like, think about it logically. They don't want to run chickens. My father was Rainbow Chickens. Like, they don't want to go and have to bloody grow chickens and hatch chickens and sell chickens. Like, they just want to be part of a good company and they want to come along for the ride. And I was like, wow, okay, that's very interesting. And then years later, I was in London and my best friend works for Strand Hanson, which to this day, he still works there. And Strand is an investment bank. It's a small boutique investment bank that lists on the AIM in London. And anyway, Hanson, I'm sure the English people know what I'm talking about, but you've got Hanson Cement. It's one of the biggest families in England. And they invested in Strand and they bought 40%. And I was like, okay, now I spot the pattern. These wealthiest families around the world are coming and investing private equity into companies, but they only ever invest 40% because they don't want to take control. They want the leadership and the management to still run the company. And that was the second time I joined the DOT. And the only third time I joined the DOT was actually, unfortunately, only in 2018, 2019, when I started to realize what we were doing wrong in property, which is that we were doing the opposite. We were trying to go and do it all ourselves, which just doesn't make sense. And it's interesting because, yeah, I don't want to go into too much detail unless people want me to, but that investment committee with all of their MBAs and CAs, they were costing us close to $30,000 a month in salaries. And this is years ago. And of their projects, they brought on six partners, 5 of them failed. So let me repeat that, 6 partners, 5 of them failed. the only partner that worked was that medical partner, Bruce. And I met Bruce now in October. I was in America in September, October. And I sat with Bruce and I said, Bruce, I blame you. And he was like, what do you mean? I said, you were so good that when we partnered with you and Paul, and we did like $100 million with them, and all the deals worked, we didn't think you were clever. We thought our investment committee was clever. And so we then backed them, and they went on to do more deals, and the next 5 partners all failed. And it comes back to what I'm trying to say here, that it all comes down to your partners. And this philosophy of trying to control everything just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. The only way to do it is through partnership. And I love what and I know I'm repeating what I said, or what Solon said, but did you hear what Solon said right at the end there? Where he said, like, you could never go to Germany and compete with Peter Katz. Like, why would you? Why would you not just partner with him? Did you hear that part? Where he said, like, he's got investment committees, he's got 14 years experience, he's done hundreds of millions of dollars. I don't know how much he's done, possibly billions, I've got no idea, in Europe, but he's done it for 14 years. He worked for one of the biggest funds in Europe. And it was just interesting because when someone said that, I was like, oh, thank goodness, I'm not the only crazy one out there. Okay, let's see what people's questions are here quickly. That's enough of my little rant. Please share info on how to book for 30-minute face-to-face. So yeah, Alex, maybe if you can just, maybe Alex, come join quickly. Let's put a face to the name. You haven't even told me, have you managed to get over your COVID, or are you still dying there? Are you joining me, Alex? There you are.
Yeah, sorry, Scott. I'm also just trying to like manage all the other things that Shane normally does. It's like, stop asking me questions. I feel much better.
One of those moments when your partner's on leave or moving house and you realize how valuable they are.
Yeah, tell me about it. But it's actually quite fun because now, you learn a lot more stuff which going on in the background. Like, where's this link? Where does that link go? And I think I've just like solved one of our biggest problems is in space of like sharing all these links, just sharing a direct WhatsApp and just starting to chat. Because I must say, a lot of people, I'm talking to a lot of people in WhatsApp directly and answering a lot of questions. So I think that's something that we need to do going forward. Anyway, so so there's actually 2 ways that we can do this. So I've shared a link in the WhatsApp chat, and I'll just share it again because there's been a couple of messages now. So like literally there it is. It's wealthuniversity.org/meet with Alex. You can literally click that link.
You've also put it in the chat box for the Zoom meeting as well. So
yeah. So maybe let me just quickly actually show you what it'll look like once you've clicked it. So effectively, this is what you're going to see. So, well, okay, there's a couple of more options. But anyway, so these are the 2 time slots that I have left today. And then tomorrow, I've only got 1. And then if you ask me nicely...
This is my humor moment. Alex loves meetings late on Friday evening. So...
yeah, so I actually people booked at 4:30 and 5 and 5:30. So anyway, you guys better be cool people, otherwise I'm going to be irritated. Anyway, so I see that there's only 1 session left on Friday. So let's try. I mean, if anyone wants to still connect on Saturday, just WhatsApp me and then let's try and find a time, because I know that some people are literally flat out this week and they're starting work next week. So let's see if we can maybe connect on Saturday then. I normally don't do Saturdays, but something special, because next week's actually going to be everyone's back at work and stuff. So that's the one option. And the second option is then just basically just chat to me on WhatsApp, because then we don't have to try and find different ways and emails and back and forth. So I'm just going to share my direct link again. Where is it now? And literally, if you click that, it'll just take you straight through to my messaging, my message. So then you can start a chat. So there's that message. So literally, those are the 2 options. I want to cancel and make it available to others, please, Alex. Okay, so let's then take that. Unfortunately, Alex don't have WhatsApp, isn't coming through to me yet. Okay, well, yeah, then just maybe use the booking link, and then let's take it from there. But I mean, literally, those are the two ways that we can engage. And if you have any questions now, I mean, I'm sure that Scott and I can tackle it as well. But yeah, I think Scott, that kind of covers the how to engage and how we can actually connect.
Oh, awesome. Natasha said, yeah, it made sense. I met Simon Zuski. He's a smart guy and well connected. Yep. So I've worked a lot with Simon. And actually, the workshop we're doing in London, we're doing a live workshop in London on the 5th, 6th, and 7th of February. And Simon's actually collaborating with us. He's going to run the first half day with us on that. I'm actually talking to him tomorrow in terms of planning that. So, yes, that was really aha for me. So, great, Heather. You're already part of the mastermind. So for yourself and Alan and Shona, and I don't know if I see anyone else from the mastermind that's here. But the point being is it's nice for you guys because you get to see the substance of the team behind you that's supporting you. With the information, one cannot sit on the fence. It's action time. I like that, Maureen. Alex and I mean, you might have heard me say this, but Alex and I joke about this all the time. Like, we literally have this conversation at least weekly where people are like, oh, we've been watching this and we saw you 3 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, and they don't take action. And Alex actually came up with a lovely comment. He was like, what did you say, Alex? I can't remember. It was last year where you said something like, let's change it from I've been watching you for years to I've been getting results for years or something like that. You know what I mean? I think it was something. I can't remember what you came up with, but it was something like that. Looks like you're frozen in a very peculiar position. But anyway. Okay, Maureen, sorry I missed day 3. I clearly missed a lot. I'm keen to join Alex 30 days, but don't give times of duration for live sessions. Feel very important to be in live sessions, but very important at doctor appointment. Yeah. So Maureen
verified on the platform and already sorted. So hello, are you guys still there?
Yeah, did you lose me? Who did we lose there? Alex or me or everyone?
I don't know. Anyway, where both of you? Sure, Scott. It's the Wi-Fi gods are against us today. It seems.
We're not even in the same place.
Yeah.
Okay, well, can I just repeat what I was saying because I don't know where we lost me. But no, Maureen was saying, sorry, I missed day 3. I clearly missed a lot. I'm keen to join Alex's 30 days, but you didn't give times and durations. I feel it's important to be at live sessions, but I have important doctor's appointments to fit in over the next 2 weeks. So just a quick one, Maureen. It starts next Wednesday. It's at 12 p.m. SAST, which is South African time. So that's 10 a.m. London time for people that want to do it off London time. And it's a short session. It's every Wednesday. It is recorded, so you can catch up if you need to. But the point is, it's every Wednesday for 4 weeks to help you get your result.
Yeah, and I think the only thing that I'd add to that is the whole point of the sessions is to really go, spend. I always say to everyone, come with your laptop charged, have your profile open on screen, and while I'm talking about these things, let's do it. Try and do it as we go through the entire process. So by the end of the 45 minutes or an hour, last year I averaged anything between 45 minutes to an hour. But I think this year, because last year was our first session, I'm going to try and keep it even shorter for that. So come with the intent. When you show up, come with the intent of actually not just listening, but actually doing it while we are going through that entire process.
Perfect. Maureen said, right partnerships is the way to go. Yeah, I can't overemphasize that more. Shona likes dredging through my past and all my problems. So Shona, if you want to read my book, so I did this actually, I'm a big believer in talking about it. So if you take my book, chapter 13 is the mistakes I've made and what I've learned from them. So that was all in the residential space, and that was 2013. And then obviously now, I try and share what we've learned since then. I think the biggest thing that I've learned, and it's the pattern over and over again, is it comes down to the quality of the partner. And Selwyn said something quite nice. It's like, who is the partner? What's their integrity? And it's this whole thing that I don't know if you've heard of the word alignment, but it's quite interesting actually when you come to alignment, because if a husband and a wife get married and one's getting married for love, okay, that's fine. I'll come and I'll sort out. if a husband and wife are getting married and the one's marrying for love and the one's marrying for money, like it's not going to work. You know, if two partners get in a business and one's trying to build a lifestyle business and one's trying to build a $1 billion company, it's not going to work. And in investment, it's the same thing. If people just want to make all the money up front and you're an investor and you're wanting to make money for the long term, it's not going to work. It just doesn't work. And so when I look at most of the deals that have gone wrong, it's because the partners, there was a misalignment in what they were trying to achieve between the investors and the partners. And if you take the financial industry, which I know we've had multiple conversations in this VIP room about, my frustration is that the majority of the income is often being earned up front in broker fees and broker commissions. And so they're not selling you what's best for you. They're selling you what makes the most money for them. Does that make sense? You know, so and we've even learned this. We've even learned this. So like, I mean, where I've burned my own fingers and made mistakes myself is like if I'm selling a development, and I'm talking now in the old days when I was selling residential, the higher the commission. Now don't get me wrong, like I like to earn money, but the higher the commission, it meant that was harder for them to sell. So they had to have a higher commission to get more people to sell it. And the lower the commission, the better quality it was. I don't know how to. So it's if you think about it, the more someone has to be incentivized to sell it, the more it probably isn't as good as it should be.
Right.
Scott?
Yes, Alan?
Can I just get clarity here? If you look at most people's portfolios and you go to these other people, they specialize basically in share portfolios, unit trusts, etc., A, B, C, D. Diversification seems to, I mean, this is the first full 5 days that I've sat with you since November. Obviously, I'm new to this. Diversification seems to specialize mainly in property deals. Am I correct on that? Because there's been nothing mentioned on, say, how do you diversify your share portfolio or anything like that. I just wanted to say, are you more comfortable that you're investing in property as you've gone through and shown us for the last 3 days? Or is there also share portfolios you use? So assuming you take my portfolio, am I going to have to sell the bulk of my Allan Gray's, etc., ABC, and move over to property? I'm just trying to clear that.
Yeah. No, so the answer is, Alan, no. So in any good portfolio, alternative assets should have somewhere between 20 to 30%, and then 70% is other. Okay. I mean, it could be as high as 50, but it doesn't matter. It's certainly not 100%. And so when we at Wealth Migrate, where we help people invest in, let's call it property or private equity or structured notes or whatever, and that's why we partnered with our family office, Calio, so that your share portfolio, your pensions, etc., are all being looked after, but in a holistic way. So that, you know, in the old days, you would come to us and you would put some of your money with us, and then you had your money with someone else, and it was kind of all over the place. So
yes,
what at the mastermind level,
correct.
Yeah. So what we've done at the mastermind level, and I mean, look, I mean, hopefully it's come through very strongly today. If I don't know what I'm doing, I never try and learn how to do it myself. I go and find the partner that knows what they're doing and is better at it. So in the family office space with Calio, I don't know anything about shares. I don't know anything about pensions. I know nothing. Okay. Like, so the point is, I'm not going to sit and try and sound like an expert. So the reason we partnered with them 2.5 years ago with the mastermind was when someone like Alan walks through the door and says, hey, here's my portfolio. I got shares. I got a pension. I've got this. I got that. We could look at it as a balanced, holistic approach and offer you an overall solution, not just, hey, Alan, sell all your shares and put in a property, because that's not what we're advocating.
Okay, I'm clear. Thank you very much.
Cool, no problem. Mama Doopy, you asked a great question here, and you said you mentioned of golden rule number 1. How does that accommodate in innovation, which comes with newness, youthfulness, etc. So let's go back to that slide. Sorry, I just want to bring it up so that everyone's got it in front of them. Just by the way, Alan, I love your questions because every time you ask them, it's helping Alex and I contextualize and get our messaging better, because if there's misunderstanding or a lack of understanding around it, it means we're not doing our job right. So I really appreciate it.
Pleasure. No, because there's no mention at all on like share portfolios or trusts or anything like that. So that does clear it. Yeah.
Yep. No, perfect. But that's what you get, as you know, in the one-to-one when you sit with
yes.
Anthony and them.
Correct.
So this is what we're talking about with the 4 golden rules, and where I said the 10 years of plus of track record, etc. So no, hang on, I'm not sure.
I don't think you're sharing.
Sorry, I'm like presenting to myself. Anyway, so it's this one here. It's this 4 golden rules, and it's the 10 years plus track record, etc. So I'm going to stop sharing just so we can see each other better. So that's an interesting question, and I love it when I get asked a question I've never been asked before, and I actually have to think about it. So anyway, thank you for that. But the answer I would have for you: would you rather invest with a 45-year-old that started and run 3 businesses successfully, but is doing something new? I don't know. Let's make it up. They're doing 3D printing in affordable housing in Soweto. So it's a new concept, but they've run 3 businesses already. They've got quite a lot of track record to how to run a business, how to be resourceful. Or would you rather put your money with a 22-year-old that's going to be doing 3D printing in Soweto? I'm just giving you an example. And so one of the best lessons I ever learned is from Jeff Bezos. And most people in life have either or thinking. It's like black or white. It's like it's either this or it's that. And what Jeff Bezos said is it's and both. So the way I would answer your question is, I would still look for someone who's got 10 years track record. They might not specifically have it in that niche. Like if we take blockchain's only been around for 10 years. So it's, cryptocurrency and stuff's only been around for 10 years. So, I always used to say, so we got into blockchain in 2015, to put it in perspective. Like we were the first real estate platform in the world to be on blockchain in 2016. And I always used to joke in those days, there were no experts. No one knew anything because we were all cowboys. we were all cowgirls, whatever you want to call it. We were all out in the desert. No one had a bloody clue what was going on. And so I think your thing is important with that innovation, but I would still try and back it to some extent with experience. And then the best lesson I ever learned was from Bill Rawson. So, Rawson, I know you're in South Africa. Rawson Properties that is all around South Africa. And I don't know if I'm giving away his trade secret here, but he has a CEO person at every level. So I think he's like 70 now. And then he's got someone at 60, and he's got someone at 50, and he's got someone at 40, and he's got someone at 30. And then they'll be bringing in their next person in their 20s. And I think, Mama Doobie, what I love about that story is you need both. Like you need the age, you need the experience, but you also need the youth. And I mean, when Alex and I'll tell you a funny story, which makes me look stupid, but I'll still tell the story. So we're driving to an event and there was a big poster on the telephone pole with the Sunday Times. And it was in the time when Zuma was still president, and it had something to do with Zuma. I can't remember what it was about, but I was like, and we were driving, it was a Sunday, and we were presenting in Joburg or Pretoria on the Monday. And we just come out the airport and I see this big sign. I'm like, yes, I'd love to know what that article's all about. Alex, please he was driving. I was like, please can you go to the garage so that I can get a copy of the Sunday Times and I can read the article? And we literally drive about for another 3 minutes or so. And he literally just brings up his cell phone. And he says, do you want to read the article? And I was like, wow, that's the first moment I realized I'm getting old. We're like, we're like in Alex's world, you don't go to a garage to buy a newspaper. So I think the point is you need the blend of both. And I mean, Alex has been one of the people advocating in our company, AI. He's the one that's brought in ChatGPT. I mean, we all of that stuff. Alex is the one that's driving that. So yeah, it's a long answer to your question, but I think it's a bit of both. But I certainly wouldn't put investors' money. Like there's no ways I would help you take your money and invest it in America with a 22-year-old that's doing data centers that had no track record in business. I just wouldn't do it. I can tell you the worst thing in our business is when people lose money. My uncle told me many years ago. So in 2008, 2009, we had that big crash, and obviously I'd helped thousands of people buy houses and apartments, and the market went down. And my uncle taught me something. He said, Scott, when people make money, they clever, and when they lose money, you stupid. Let me repeat that just so that everyone understands me. When people make money, they are clever, and when they lose money, you are stupid. So it's a burden. It's a big burden of responsibility, and that's why I think maybe I'm overemphasizing this, but I'd rather be conservative. In fact, just yesterday, I was talking with Paulo, who's our CIO, Chief Investment Officer, and he said, some of the deals out there now on Yield Street and Fundrise, and a number of the American platforms are pushing 20%, 21, 22%. And he said, Scott, we need to be chasing those type of deals. I said, Paolo, I would be far more comfortable with a solid 15% and people are getting paid on each and every deal than chasing the 20%. Because actually, funny enough, back to what I just said to you on the commission, the more aggressive the growth, the less chances you've got of achieving it. So I don't know. It's a long story about me telling you we're conservative is the best way to describe it. I was maybe when I was Alex's age, I was a lot more gung-ho. Now I've lost lots of money. Now I don't want to be gung-ho anymore. It's the best way to describe it. Is there perhaps the possibility of creating a recording of how Wealth Migrate can work with folks in America? I have quite a few networks connecting America. Thomas, at the moment, we've got a problem in America. So the SEC, there's big challenges between European compliance, and America. I don't know if you know this, but many European investment banks fired all their American clients and literally said, we're not going to comply with American rules, etc. So there's a big problem between Americans based in America. And for that, because we've got European compliance and everything else, we've really struggled with helping Americans to get KYC, which is basically get set up on Lemonway. We are working with our family office right now. It's one of the reasons I was in America, to get American regulation and possibly look at American wallets for Americans. But we don't have it at the moment, and it's not our focus. And I do joke with people. The Americans don't like it when I joke, but in Europe we can help. So we have to comply with EU regulation, and there's about 100 countries around the world that are fine. They're like white labeled or whatever you want to, white listed or whatever you want to call it. There are countries like Zimbabwe and Iran that are blacklisted. You can't work with them. And I always just joke that the Americans are in there as well. So it's the Americans, the Iranians, and the Russians that we can't help at the moment. So, but no, Thomas, it's something we want to solve. And I agree with you on the network side. Brian Walsh, I'm doing an event with him on Sunday evening, and they've got a lot of Americans. It is, but it's a lot harder than you think. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Kelly's saying T-Son's internet's really bad. Yeah. I mean, Alex isn't even here, so sorry. I don't know why we lost you guys. Very true. Shared values and integrities. Yeah, it's probably the single biggest thing I've learned in business. Literally, if you said to me down to one word, you put a gun to my head and you said literally one thing in business, it'll be the word alignment. If you're not aligned, it doesn't work. Which is, by the way, why I made such a thing about the red control and the green partnership, because I don't want anyone joining us as an investor on Wealth Migrate, as a wealth hacker, or at the mastermind if they don't understand that partnership thing, because it just doesn't work otherwise. Yeah, so Maureen said also, Selwyn's emphasized that also, it's my key takeaway today, alignment. What was wrong with the Brisbane deal? Shona, so I mean, I spoke about it now, but in simple terms, it was a cacophony of problems that were out of anyone's control. No amount of due diligence could have got it right, because it was the Chinese government and the Australian government and a whole bunch of things. But the real problem was that the local developer only had like $150,000 invested. So in the big picture of things, actually had very little. And so when the shit hit the fan, he ran out the door. And then us 82 investors that put all the money in, and we're all foreigners, now have to try and manage the project. And again, if we'd done it like the Manhattan deal, remembering I didn't know what I didn't know back in 2016, if we'd done it like the Manhattan deal, where let's say it's a $6 million project, and let's say $5 million or even $5.5 million came from Australian sophisticated investors, then I guarantee you this project would have been sorted a long time ago. Because even the Australian regulators would deal with it and whatever. But when it's a bunch of foreigners, regulators don't care. I promise you, Americans only care about Americans. English only care about England. Aussies only care about Aussies. Like, the English regulator won't do anything if a South African loses money in England. They don't care. Which is why you got to have local investors, because then they hold people's feet to the fire. I mean, I had an interesting guy. Alex knows him. He's a good friend of mine, actually. And he got hold of me. He said he had a deal in London, It sounded hell of a good. I can't remember the numbers. I'm not going to try and regurgitate them because I can't remember them, but that sounded really good. Now, he's a developer. He's got his own network. He's used our own platform before. And he was like, hey, do you want to do this deal? I said, I'd love to do the deal. It sounds wonderful. How much money are we going to raise from your local investors? He was like, none. I just want to come to your investors. I was like, end of conversation. Like, because if the British investors don't want to invest, then I don't want to invest. I don't mind sharing this, but I'm no means a net NWE. Don't know what that means. I invested 10K in a government bond, all the eggs in one basket in a company I invested in went belly up. It's FS.
I think we've just lost Scott. Scott, you're muted, I think.
No, I'm not. Can you not hear me?
You were frozen for like 15 milliseconds.
Sorry, it's saying my internet's unstable. Yeah, I don't really know what to do about it. I've got a hard fiber line in. So, but no, Glenn was just sharing his experience where he put money into a government bond, which was, FSC backed. It's been 3 years now, and I haven't seen my money back. I'm glad I found you guys, as this has seen a pivot point. My investment goals are going to be realized. Yeah, look, Glenn, I think almost every single one of us probably has a war story of where we put money and what's happened and it hasn't worked, and you know what I mean. And unfortunately, we all learn from these lessons. But hopefully, these type of sessions can help other people avoid stuff in terms of the process. Just by the way, Natasha, you said something that's really important here. So I stand on stage quite often, and I'm a big believer that people's character should be judged by how they behave when it's not working, not by how they behave when it's working. So when it's working, anyone can be a hero, but it's how do you behave when it's not working? And so even down to that government bonds, who knows? Like maybe it wasn't something dodgy, maybe something. I mean, we've been in a terrible environment. Interest rates have gone up, bonds have gone down. Maybe it's just been a very difficult period, and you just have to see it through. But where I would have a problem is if the leaders are not communicating with integrity. So that would be because things do happen, but it's it's the communication which is important. It's amazing how emotive money is. Yes. Didn't you love what Cynthia said? Which is when you talk about money, most people, we don't have a group of people we can talk to. You can't really talk to your friends. You can't talk to your family. And you'll be surprised how many people are part of the mastermind love the ability just to be able to talk to other like-minded people. And that's why when we do the monthly sessions, we actually have what's called in the evening a fireside chat, which is an excuse to sit around the water cooler or bring a drink or whatever you want to call it, but basically just to engage and chat. And even more so on the wealth weekends, which is where you build real friendships, So, but it's interesting because it's that emotive part that you're talking about there, that most of us, like, it's very hard to find a tribe of people. Whereas in this tribe, we are here to talk about investment. We are here to talk about passive income. We're here to talk about challenges and this and that. And it sort of allows people that freedom to be with other like-minded people. Okay, so it was a controlled takeover attempt by Alex. Oh, sorry, I thought we were talking about the bonds there. I was like, what? Thanks for the feedback. How are you sourcing more new deals? Richard, good question. That's why I was meeting with Paolo yesterday. We don't have a problem sourcing new deals. We have a problem with having enough capacity to do due diligence on new deals, if that makes sense. So that's our single biggest challenge. And then equally from a community perspective, which is why I spend most of my time wanting to help people grow demand, is that the more money you've got, the better quality deals you'll keep getting. Think about it logically. And then the more quality deals you have, the more money you'll get. So the point being is that if I put 20 brilliant deals on the platform and we end up raising a small, finicky amount of money per deal, that sponsor won't want to work with you again. So that's a chicken and egg situation. You got to balance it. You got to balance it carefully. Yeah, the local investors make huge sense. You and an alien. It's interesting, Alex, you said that. I know you've heard me tell the story, but when I went to the bank in America, they literally asked me, are you an American or are you an alien? It's literally on their form. I literally was like, what? Like, that's how much of a foreigner you are if you're not an American citizen. And that's not a made-up story. That happened to me personally, so I can attest to it. Kelly said, after living in London, I agree, we need to stick together. Okay, just tried to pay for mastermind by invoice, but IBAN, that is most of the time needed for international transfers. Alex forwarded it to your CFO just for information if anyone else. Okay, so what are we saying there? Oh, it doesn't have the IBAN. Okay, so we must just make sure we sort that out, Alex, in terms of that IBAN. So yeah, thank you, Helga, I appreciate it. How can a person buy shares in Wealth University, Wealth Hackers, Wealth Migrate? Oh, now you're asking a tricky question, Shona. So I will answer your question. So we've been a community-based company right from the beginning. And then in the very beginning, back when we launched, so I wrote the business plan in 2010, but we only launched in October 2013. And we actually had a number of our investors coming to us and going, hey, this is a lovely medical building, but how do I invest in the company? And then we ended up even doing a crowdfunding thing with Cedars. I don't know if you know, in England, Cedars is an equity crowdfunding platform. So we've done something with them, and we haven't done anything for about 3 years now. And then about 3 months ago, we actually sat down with our Calio family office, and we made an offering just to Calio and to the family and to the mastermind members. So you've only just recently signed up. So I suggest you and Alex and I have a chat about that. But we kept the net very, very, very small, like just in terms of the mastermind members. So yeah, it's why you notice I don't talk about it ever. Okay, a slow growing investment where you can get your money back far outgrows investments with high growth. You cannot get your money out. Now, Thomas, I always love that. There was a saying that I learned from Dr. Dolph DeRoos, and he said most people are looking for return on capital. So just listen to my wording here; it's important. So most people are looking for return on capital, whereas the most important thing is return of capital. Does that make sense? Can I repeat that? So most people are looking for return on capital, whereas the most important thing is return of capital. Anyway, it just backs up what you're saying, Thomas. And look, I know I spoke about this on Monday, Tuesday, I can't remember which day it was, but I told you the story. It was on, Shona asked the question about Ponzi schemes. And I told you the story when I was riding the mountain bike and my mates were doing crypto trading and the other one were doing day trading. And, we were just getting a paltry 8% a year in dollars, and they were getting like 10% a month. And it all sounded hell of a sexy until they lost everything. So for me, it's just one of those things. Yes, no, Richard, thank you. Sorry, it's been a bit crazy. I know you sent me the WhatsApp, but I'm not sure if this is the best way to start a year, but literally went from on holiday to running a challenge and running one-to-one mastermind sessions in the afternoon. So it's been a little bit of a manic start to the year, but yeah, I haven't forgotten. We'll make sure we sort that. I have a meeting to go to. Thanks for another wonderful session. Pleasure, Thomas. Have you got your hand up, Richard? Is there something you got your hand up? I don't know if it's a physical hand or you're saying yes. Okay, cool. Anything else I can help with today in terms of partners? I mean, specifically, we've really spoken about only two things today. We've spoken about partners and we've spoken about risk. Does that make sense? I mean, if you think about it, I know it's been 3 hours or more, but in simple terms, it's two words. We've spoken about partners and risk. That's all we've spoken about. And what I've tried to share with you is the kind of the lessons. And I do think, and I know I now sound like a salesman, but I sincerely believe it. You can go and learn all the stuff, and I can give you books and teach you all the stuff, or you can partner with us, and you can literally jump ahead kind of 20 years because Selwyn and Glenn and myself and Paolo and the people that are working with the partners and looking for deals, etc. We've all been doing it for more than 2 decades. In my case, it's nearly 3. I'm sure Selwyn and Glenn is also 3. So, and Paolo's in his early 50s, so he's also nearly 3. So, I mean, you can accelerate forward by not just a decade, but by possibly 2 or 3 decades. And then on top of that, you don't need to know everything. So if you're going into Germany, even Selwyn and I don't know anything about Germany. So you're not trying to be an expert in Germany. It's about finding Peter Katz, who's the expert in Germany. Do you understand the mindset here of how we can accelerate learning without having to know how to do it all ourselves? However, saying all of that, please, I'm not asking you to abscond your own due diligence, your own intuition. Like, does that make sense? Like, we're not perfect. I never proclaim to be perfect. And so, it's at the end of the day, we're still helping people invest. We're giving them the right knowledge so that you can make the right decisions for yourself. But at the end of the day, it's still your decision. It's a very important understanding that we have with that. Any thoughts on that, Alex, from your side? Because I know one of the things I love about Alex is that he's 30 years old. Like, he turned 30 last year. He knows more about investment than most 60-year-olds. Okay, and there's two reasons for that. The first is that he's immersed himself. I mean, we've had plenty of people his age that haven't really taken the opportunity, but Alex really has. I mean, he's gone from knowing nothing, and no disrespect, Alex, but 8 years ago, knowing nothing about investing to knowing more than most 60-year-olds. So that's my first comment, is that because you've really jumped in and been hungry to learn. And the second thing is you've been prepared to engage with the partners and learn off the partners, if that makes sense. So I'd love to just get your insights into your journey over the last 8 years, because this lesson around partners is probably the most important lesson of the entire challenge.
Yeah, I don't think I could spell investments 8 years ago, Scott. I thought there was a PHYQL. The first thing that comes to mind, Scott, is that story that happened not so long ago. So Jonty is Scott's son. I think he's what, 12, 13, around about that age now? 12. And he goes through these phases of where he falls in love with stuff. So he fell in love with fishing. And Scott's not a fisherman. He loves his boat, but he's not a fisherman. I think he's as far away from a fisherman as, I think you can be. Anyway, and literally the first thing that Scott did was, okay, we need to go get a rod, and we need to go to a place where I can find someone that is a coach, like that is a fisherman actually, that can show us where to go, what kind of bait to use, and so on and so forth. And to use that story, I mean, literally within 10, 15 minutes, we were on the water. Spoiler alert, we didn't unfortunately catch any fish. I think we're cursed. But anyway, this guy was like, okay, you're going to go here. The water temperature is this, drop here, drop the anchor there. And it just, a penny dropped for me. It was such a, I've been sitting or grabbing onto your coattails now for, I don't know, it's been too long. I feel like it's been thousands of years, but within the company already for like almost 8 years. And that was the first moment where I was just like, okay, well, in your brain, you don't even think about actually going to go grab a book or start it. You just go straight to the source of the information. So I think with that kind of story as context, the last 7 years, or actually last 4 years, really has actually transpired into something great, where I've been able to rub shoulders with, the Goths and the Feltman, what's his name again? Larry Feltman and all of these people. And that has been amazing, because I didn't have to go through the whole, actually going through the riffraff of retail. I went straight to the high net worth products. So I feel extremely privileged and spoiled in that sense. And I think what we've done now over the last, call it 2 years, we've been able to put that into a system that everyone can actually use. And that's obviously called the mastermind or the home study courses or whatever, whatever resonates with you as an investor. And that comes down to then actually our partners. And that's been the entire, last 4 hours that we've been sitting, or 3 hours that we've been sitting here, is all about their experiences, how they've learned, and we don't have to make the same mistakes that they have made. I'd highly recommend not to make the same mistakes that we've made, because it's only costed us gray hair and receding hairlines and, a lot of money. So yeah, I think that's the main point here, is that just partner with the high net worth guys that's been doing this for many years and lost a lot of money, and then just learn from them and then just apply that logic. But then in the same case, at the same time, I spoke to a client what was it, a couple of months ago, last year, Q3. And it was a very uncomfortable conversation because literally the client said, it doesn't matter. I know nothing, and I'm just going to listen to you and Scott and just tell me exactly what to do, and I'll just do that. And I was like, whoa, 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 no. We're not financial advisors. We're not, at any means, we've never said, just listen to us and we'll take you to the next level. It's more of empowering people with that they come from different backgrounds and different experiences. Take an example of Abdul that you guys listened to the testimonial couple of, I think it was a day 1, Scott, or day 2.
It's tomorrow.
Oh, well, then you're in for a treat. Watch his webinar, his testimonial, his conversation. He's just from his perspective and sitting in his office, and I've been to his house now about 6 or 7 times, and every single time I listen to the way that he articulates himself and what he looks in for partners is just at a whole different level, because his experiences have been different. And then I take that and I kind of put my own spin on it when I look for things like that. So I think, Scott, I know I'm being, it's a long answer to a very simple question, but I think it's really important to actually upskill yourself, understand these things, and take it seriously, because this is actually your plan B. How are you going to make sure you're going to be looked after in the future? And that whole wealth preservation, generational wealth, and so on and so forth. So, and I know that I'm preaching.
Can I share a bit of humor here? So I know Kelly just put it in, but with your fishing story, we are now advanced fishermen. These are the 2 fish my son caught on Saturday. So we've still got a long way to go in terms of our fishing expertise. But anyway,
that's called those 2 fish. What have they cost you, Scott? Like what, 20,000 rand a fish?
Thanks, man. That is proper sushi in terms of expense per kilo. But anyway, but I do want to wrap up. I do personally, I've got to go and see the surgeon with a torn meniscus at 1:00. So I need to duck. I'm happy to leave the room open if there's any questions that Alex can help with. But I wanted to ask if there was anything else that I could help with for today, reminding you that tomorrow we bring it all together. And tomorrow in the VIP session, we'll be there as long as we need to be able to answer anyone's questions about anything. But I just wanted to check if there's anything else I could help with, because I don't want to be late for my surgeon's appointment. You came in handy with the passive income challenge. Yeah, so Maureen's giving you congratulations there. Take a mask and go look at the seahorses under the jetties. Yeah, that'll be later. Anyway, and if Jan is here, is Jan here? Because I'm seeing Jan at 2:00. Okay, cool. Excellent. Well, thank you for the kind words. I appreciate it a lot. Do me a favor. If you've got any questions, put them in the VIP group, even this afternoon, tonight, whatever. Because the more questions we have, the more value we can add. And I repeat what I said yesterday. The only stupid question is the one not asked. So hit us tomorrow. Hit us with whatever you want. And if you want to put questions in the VIP room, today, tonight, tomorrow, do it, because then we've got some context to work from. But most importantly, we want you to leave tomorrow having the peace of mind, having a plan, having your question answered, so we can hit the ground running on Monday. Is that fair? Yep. Okay, everyone. Thanks for your time. Appreciate it. See you tomorrow.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.